everyone. I'm Kim Cash, and I'm here with an author, Stormi Lewis. And on her bio, she says she's an ordinary girl from Kansas. But when you read her bio, you'll know that she's anything but ordinary. She's been a dancing cocktail server. She's been a Lincoln concierge and a sign language interpreter and an author, just to name a few of the things she's done. She has multiple books out. She has The Key and The Protector and Surviving the Storm. And I think her latest book is The Protector. But I'm going to ask her a few questions, but I'm going to let her just say hi for a second. So tell us a little bit more about yourself. Tell us something that maybe isn't in your bio that nobody knows, or at least isn't common knowledge.
George Lopez paid off my Mazda protege in Vegas.
Oh my gosh. How'd that come about?
So I doubt he remembers. I was working at the Rio Hotel. It was when I was doing the dancing cocktail serving and just serving everybody and just kind of making sure that he was taken care of. Well, then his manager was with him and he was like, here, this is for you. And he gave me a tip. And I'm not one that would be like, oh, what did I get? I just, oh, okay, thank you. And then he walked away. Well, at that time, there was a lot of news stories coming out that people were mad because they were drunk and they were giving like valet a $5,000 tip instead of a $5 tip. So when I looked at it, it was a $10,000 tip and I freaked. So I kicked off my heels and I'm like jet running down the hall because I didn't want to get in trouble. And I was like, I don't think you meant to give this to me. And he actually put his hand on my shoulder and he said, no, because they would always ask me a question when I came through. So they knew I was going to school and stuff. And he was like, that is for school and whatever else you need to pay off. I was like, okay. So I just put it in my pocket and I paid off the rest of my then student loans at that time and the leftover amount that was on my Mazda protege. So it's kind of fun to say George Lopez paid off my car.
What a heartwarming story. Oh my gosh. You know, you hear so much about celebrities and people that are very affluent, and it's usually not all good. So that's a really cool story. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Now, I know you have a book that's coming out soon. Is that The Protector?
It is.
And can you tell us what day it's coming out?
May 14th.
So that's just a little over a month. And I'm just curious, I want to ask a bunch of different questions about how you chose this topic and just your process. But I wanted to know, how are you promoting your book? Are you sending out any kind of flyers? Are you just doing interviews, blog hops? What are you doing to promote?
Yeah. So, I've got a couple of things going. I am the girl that has a zero negative budget to work with. So I have to do a lot of the free things or the low kind of budgeting things. So this year I'm mixing it up a little bit. And so I'm doing more podcast interviews and just kind of getting the word out. I have my ARC team, of course. And I actually, through Vicarious Readers Only is a website that another author sent me to. So you can actually download. So when you're doing a trilogy like I am, they always say, you know, lose money on the first one and make money on the last two. And so I've been playing with that. So they can download The Key for free in exchange for an honest review on Goodreads or Amazon. And now those people are like, so when's the second one come out?
Oh, that's cool.
They actually like it. And it's also a way to build your email list. So I've gotten and it's like $20 a month. So they actually sent me an email and said, I'm averaging 40 downloads a week for The Key. And that's 40 people that go on my email list every week. So it's a good way to build your email list. Something else I was doing is I'm all about helping other people grow. So I know people will pay for reviews, but those people tend to never be in my target market ever. And again, zero budget. I have to be very careful where I spend money. And so I actually look for new Instagrammers as they come on, and I look at what their reading is. And if it's in my genre, I'm like, hey, I know you're just starting out. I've got this book. Would you leave a review? And if you share it on your Instagram, tag me so I can share it, and we'll help you grow. And it's a work win-win. So so I got to meet some new people through that. And sometimes it, for the majority, I have hit some target market people, which is great, but I can't control who all gets the book through the email list version. And so there were some bad reviews, not really bad, but like the 2-3 star where you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? But then I started reading them, and I realized that they're not my target market, so my books are really written more so for like 30 and above. So it was like the 18-year-olds that I think when they picked it up, they thought it was young adult, and it's not. So they were like, it wasn't bad or whatever, but I didn't like X, Y, and Z. So the more I started reading them, the more I realized that it was because they weren't who I wrote to, and that's fine. But some people I actually encouraged to step outside of their comfort zone to try my book. So that was kind of fun to do for people too. So book trailers, OSM Productions on Instagram. I thought I had an epic book trailer for The Key, but this one that came out, I was like, oh, I love it. I play it every day as my theme song because it's that awesome.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Did you send me your book trailer? Because I'd love to have it so I could.
Yeah, I can send it to you.
Yeah.
And it is on the website as well. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So I'll definitely share that with you.
That's very
so
cool.
just things like that.
So that's one of the questions you've started to answer is how did you make your target audience, and what exactly is your target? You said it's around 30 something, but how did you come up with that specific age group?
So I will tell you honestly, when I started writing The Key, I thought it was going to be young adult, but they were kind of in their early 20s. So they didn't really fit in that category anyway. And I'm terrible at outlining and like planning out my books. I really just sit down and there's a few things I want to touch on, but they write themselves. And so, towards the end, Sophie and James have this just such strong connection. And before I knew it, they were making love. And I was like, well, that definitely takes it out of young adult. But it wasn't about, hey, let's throw in sex because sex sells. It was literally like, I always love the idea that if you're going to give yourself to someone like that, that you're giving all of them to you, all of yourself to them because you want to have that deeper connection and stuff like that. And I actually got a lot of compliments. Some people were like, did it really need sex? And I'm like, oh, apparently it did because it wrote itself. And then other people were actually giving me kudos of how it was written, because you could tell it was so much love between the two of them, and it wasn't just. So then I was like, okay, definitely not young adult. And then I kind of sat and thought about it, and I thought, well, I write like I talk, so realistically I'm writing to people just like me.
And it just came out organically is what you're saying. It wasn't something that you contrived, so it just should feel natural because it just came the way you thought it did. Yeah.
I realized that instead of trying to write to a generation that is so much younger than me that I don't really have any connection to because I don't have kids and stuff, but I have a lot of friends that are kind of in the 30 to older, and I wrote it for them because they're like me. So that's how I kind of figured out who my target market was.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. So how long have you been writing?
I used to write all the time as a kid. It was kind of an outlet for my bipolar disorder, was reading and writing, because I didn't know that I had a mental illness until I was about 22. So it was just kind of a nice way to make the crazy feel a little less crazy, And But too many people were like, nobody's going to read your stuff. You can't publish a book unless you know somebody, all those things we always hear. So really in college, I was only writing what I had to for classes. And then I was focused, I was doing sign language and dancing, and that was keeping me busy. And then when I walked away from my abusive marriage, when I felt finally that it was time to share that side of the story and how I was going through the process of breaking my people-pleasing addiction, writing was just the first thing that came to the front of my mind. So I was doing marketing degree at that time. So I started a blog.
Is that how you did Surviving the Storm? I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
Because it just sounds like that would be a natural progression going through that.
So that actually started as blog post that became a book. And so it really is a just different blog post of me just trying things, because I knew if I didn't kind of step outside of my own comfort zone, I would never be able to kind of break this addiction that I had developed. So Surviving the Storm came from a lot of the podcast adventures and going to Belize randomly for a week on a couples retreat, and she didn't tell me it was a couples retreat, so I showed up and was like all by myself and what's up. But she actually told them all about the blog, and so they were like, every time I turned around they'd be like, you got to do this for the blog, and I'd be like, I don't think I need to eat a termite, but I did. And it's like having a breath mint. You just can't think about it, but you walk around the jungle going, not bad. But I really wanted to kind of explain my marriage because nobody knew what was really going on. And I knew if I could help just one person, then that story needed to be told. So I published that book, and I had women coming up to me and telling me that it changed their mindset and all this other stuff. But if somebody asked me what I did, I still wasn't like, I'm an author. I was like, yeah, I got a book on Amazon if you want to buy it. And so then I was working multiple jobs, kind of paying off for that second expensive piece of paper. And COVID hit, and I was working customer service. And when you're the end of the phone tree, and it was right when COVID hit, and it was travel. So Everybody just wanted to yell and get off their frustrations. And when you're bipolar, that is not a good thing. So I knew I needed to find balance. And so I talked to a friend, and she was like, let's get you writing a book. And I said, I agree. So we threw ideas around, and she said, well, what about a second chapter to Surviving the Storm? And I said, I haven't done anything. Like I didn't feel like there was a next chapter yet. And so she said, well, what else can you write about? And I said, well, I have this middle school story that I literally wrote in like 7th or 8th grade and just never finished. And so she said, well, what's that about? And I told her, and she was like, you got to do that. So I sat down and I wrote a couple of pages, and then my friend that lives here in the apartment complex read it, and he was like, this is gonna be an epic trilogy. And I was like, whoa, it's not even a book. What are you talking about? But I couldn't get the idea out of my head. So the key started the journey, and just the protectors coming out. And just last night I called my dad, and he's like, why are you so tired? I said, because apparently Dead Draw's already writing itself in my head, and I didn't get to sleep until after midnight because
oh my gosh,
it was just it conveniently writes right before I go to bed, where I have like no laptop, no nothing, and I'm like, really?
That must be your creative inspiration. A lot of people say that they're the most creative when they sleep. So maybe
it's always right before I go to bed. And I'm like, really? I can't sleep.
So tell us a little bit about The Protector. What is it about?
Yeah, so when you read the key, the beginning of the journey is this girl, and I didn't have an imaginary friend, but I played by myself a lot because I got bullied a lot, and like I never had an imaginary friend. I just had a better kind of badass version of myself, and she didn't have a name at the time. So this is Sophie's story. This is the girl that I always pretended to be when I was a kid. And so right out of the gate, she's running from somebody after her, and you don't know who's after her. And then she gets hit by a van and she gets amnesia. So the whole book is about figuring out who she is and what she has, because her dad gave her a key, but they don't know what it is, where it is, what it does. But there's a man with the cane that's after her and keeps sending like people to capture her to get this key. So that's a lot of what the key is finding out Sophie's kind of childhood memories. And that's when you find out that her parents were actually murdered when she was 10. And so he was a scientist and she was kind of like a special ops person. And the mom worked for the man with the cane. So they find the key at the very end, but they haven't figured out what it does. So,
well, don't tell us. People gotta buy the book.
I know. Well, when you get the protector, it picks up from there.
Okay.
So you notice in the first book that she hears better than she should, and she runs faster than she should. So she's different on a lot of levels. And so you find out that she's been genetically altered, how it happened, who did it. And the book really is about kind of her coming to terms of not looking at it as a curse, but as a way to save as many of her loved ones as she can. Now, part of the theme that kind of goes through is this dream realm. It allows Sophie to still communicate with people that have been taken away from her. So like her parents. So my grandmother, my Nana, is dealing with dementia really bad and a cardiovascular disease. So her time was limited. And I just couldn't let go of the idea that no matter when people leave you physically, they never truly leave you. And so that's what this dream realm is for Sophie. But in the protector, that you find out the man with the cane is breaking the rules and breaking in because he's going to try to control her through her mind.
Oh, wow. That sounds exciting. That does sound like an exciting story. So now did you, I'm just curious because we do have so many people that want to publish a book and maybe they don't have an agent or don't have an editor. Do you, how did you go about actually publishing?
Yeah, so publishing really is the easiest part. My first book, I didn't know what I was doing and I just downloaded it on Amazon, pressed publish, and then went, you know what? And at the time, there really wasn't any kind of books or anything kind of telling you what you needed to do after that. So I kind of played with a schedule because, again, at the time when I was starting, I was working full time. I was taking care of Nana. I was helping my parents. And I set up a schedule because, again, I battle with anxiety and a lot of things. So I am all about cutting out the stress in my life. And so I set up a schedule where I could stretch it out, do all of the things I was required to do as an adult, and still publish a book in 6 months and enjoy the ride. Because it's an up and down process. So I was knocking out a book consistently in about a month. It takes me about that long to have different people edit it. And then I just really have fun those last 4 months, just kind of marketing it and building the ARC team and things like that. So that's kind of what got me into story sharing coaching, because so many people were like, this is so hard. And I'm like, no, it's not. I promise you, let's do this. So I have spent a lot of time teaching myself because I didn't want anybody else to have to pull their hair out like I did for my first one.
People may not even know what an ARC is. It's an advanced reader's copy. And so when you say you had an ARC team, you're talking about people that were reading your book and preparing to get out reviews on it, or what else were they doing for you?
Yeah, so there's 2 separate groups, and I actually had to teach myself this for the key because I didn't even know this for my first book. Again, I just put it out there and people occasionally bought it, and I was like, okay, but I was like, there's got to be a better way. So I went on Instagram because, again, that's a gold mine for so many author support, bookish support. There's a huge book community on there. And everybody kept doing the same thing where they're like, beta readers, ARC readers, this and that. And I would have to message somebody and go, okay, I'm sorry, what is this? So advanced reader copies. So there's two groups. You have beta readers that you can send them to, and that's what kind of my dad does for his first round for me and some other people. They let me know if there's any kind of plot holes. They make the story better. And then after they read it, they give you some suggestions, and you can decide if you want to do them or not. Then you do another draft, and then you'll eventually, once it's edited to the point where you're really basically ready to release it, then you give it to your advanced reader copy people. And that's kind of your personal marketing go-to hurrah team, is how I like to think of it. So these people are going to read it, and they're going to leave those honest reviews, and they're going to go on their social media outlets and say, oh my gosh, I love this book, hopefully. and they help you promote it. Because again, when you have a zero budget, they don't sell themselves. You have to do some legroom. And so the more people you can have, so I have different teams to kind of help me with the different stages. But yeah, that's what the advanced reader people are. And I'm cheating to look at my calendar. So like my advanced readers have it now. They're going to make sure there's a review on Goodreads by May 1st. And then it'll be out by May 14th. So I'll do an Instagram giveaway where I'm giving away an autographed copy. So if you're not following me on Instagram, follow me on Instagram, and you could win a free autographed copy. And yeah, so I actually, and I'll show you my cheat here. I have a whole calendar covered in Post-its.
I love it. And it's color coded.
Yes. Well, it has to be, because I actually this year found out I'm publishing 4 books. 2 of my own, and then my father, because I have created a monster, has decided to also publish 2 books this year. And like, he doesn't know social media at all. His eyes glaze over when I mention Instagram. So like, he's 65, so he's never touched Facebook. He doesn't know any of that. So I am doing a lot of the late group for him. So I seriously am now publishing. So the hot pink is him. So I know where he's going to be when. But that just helps me know like my deadlines and stuff. I also have it in Google Calendars, but I like to have it where I can just look at it. And then every month that goes by, I take it down and go, yes.
You're checking off goals.
Yes.
That's cool. So you're doing 4 books, well, or at least working on 4. Your dad's doing 2 of them. That is a lot. Plus you have a job and you go to school. Is that?
I was going to school. I've graduated. I am not working as much now, but I have also, because so many people were saying, oh my gosh, I need help. I can't do this on my own. So I walk other people through this cycle, give them these deadlines and hold their hand, basically. So if they're not working and they want to do it in 3 months, we can do it. If you are working and you're just don't know because you're like giving yourself all these excuses, I got you. And we'll do it in 6 months. And then some people, just need the occasional, hey, can we talk about my storyline? So I just have like an hour call that you can come in and do, and we can talk about whatever you need to talk about, your marketing, your storyline.
So you're a story coach, is that what you call
Yeah.
it? Okay, a story coach and an author. So that is interesting. So it's a multi-faceted, different career levels. So
it's nice because I know how important books were to me to survive with my bipolar disorder, especially. And then, going through an abusive marriage, that was a story that needed to be told, because there are women out there that think that if they walk away, they may not survive. So my book, the first half of it, is about all the stupid stuff I did, trying to break my people-pleasing habit, and how I had fun with it. And so you don't even get to the marriage part until the very end. because I'm proving the point that what happens to you doesn't define you. It's just a part of the journey. And so stories are just so epic, and they teach us. And there are so many kids that, or even young adults or adults that maybe haven't found their author yet. And now is the time to be sharing those stories, especially with the pandemic and everybody was in lockdown. Like, this is the perfect time that if you have a story, it needs to be told. So that's why I really wanted to kind of start working with people to kind of help them get through the excuses.
And you have a podcast right now, which is called, is it Chasing Storm?
It's Bookish Chatter.
Bookish Chatter.
Yeah, so Bookish Chatter, again, that first book was just horrid to do by myself. I felt so alone. I didn't know what I was doing, and I just didn't want anybody else to have to feel that way. So Bookish Chatter is my podcast, and I've had you on, where we just kind of talk about, if it's an author, they share their author journeys, give their advice about what worked, what didn't for them. I bring in other experts, like social media expert, podcast experts, just so that if somebody is wanting to be on this journey, no matter where you are in your journey, you're never going to be alone. There's an episode for you.
That's wonderful. That is wonderful. In fact, I've got some people I could probably send your way for.
Let's do it.
I will. I have a friend who has a book coming out May 1st, and I'll give you some information on that, and I'll connect you with her. But I just also wanted to ask you a few questions about your process of writing. So when you said it took you a month, that is quick to me. I mean, it takes me much more time to write a book.
Yeah.
I'm just curious about it.
I think, here's how I work. I cannot do, I'm going to sit down and write so many words today. I have a page limit today. When I was doing that, because everybody kept saying that'll make you a better writer. When I was doing that, I was just having to rewrite everything I wrote the day before because I just hated it. It was crap. So I say the more of non-restrictions I can give myself, the more I can just let the story happen. So I would get off at like 3:30 and I'd say, okay, I'm going to eat something. And then from 4 to 6:30, I'm just going to sit and write. If I write 5 words, great. I'm going to dance around and celebrate. If I get 5,000, even better. But I didn't want to beat myself up in the process. And so I set time chunks, and then I always celebrated whatever I accomplished that day, because some days are better than others. We all know that. And it just made it a much more enjoyable experience. For me though, it's really hard because like I will write an epic scene and I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. And I want to tell people about it. And they're like, no, I want to wait till the book comes out. That is the worst for me. Like I can't, I'm like, really? So yeah, that's something I'm still working on figuring out. I need to figure out how I can celebrate when I do something like that. And I want to tell the world to celebrate in a different way.
I know, because everyone's different in everything that we do. No two people are alike. So I love to hear that you have a process that works just for you, and it may not be what everyone has recommended, because a lot of times people don't know what's going to work for you. So.
I hear everybody was like outline, character development, character wheels, all those things, and I was just like, I can't. I feel like it's too forced.
So you're definitely a pantser and not a plotter.
I am. I have a few things, and I have a checklist. I love my checklist. I'll show you. These are my things to do for the launch, and I love to make little boxes so I can mark them off. It just is so freeing for me. So I'll have a few things, but half the time I'll be writing and I'm like, oh, we're going this way. Okay, where's this gonna go? And so for me it's funner that way too, because that allows me to discover the story like a reader would discover it. And so yeah, that's kind of what I do. And I don't go back and edit. I wait till I'm done. I'll give it to my dad, because my dad will catch me on stuff, because with the ADHD, I'm so pronoun happy. It's not even funny because I'm just trying to write as fast as I think so I don't forget. So there's a lot of he, she, and you got to figure out who they are, especially when there's like 5 of them in a row and things like that. And like, I'll say where they're going, but I won't add specifics. Like if they're in a hotel room, I won't take the time to describe the 70s carpet and, you know, the lime green phone on the counter. I'll go back and do it later, but I really focus on the story itself first, because that's the kind of author I think I am. I really want to write some sort of epic story that you love and you stay up all night to get it done.
Oh, that's cool. That's kind of like, it reminds me, I mean, not exactly, but like NaNoWriMo, you just write your story and then you go back and you edit it and you know, find your nuggets that are great and you just separate the stuff that got you there. And so I love that idea. I've always wanted to do NaNoWriMo and never really completed it because
I didn't even know what it was until this year. I was like, what is this acronym?
I should tell people NaNoWriMo is the National Novel Writing Month. And there's also a picture book one, which I think is like Paibo. I can't remember what it is, but
I said I was going to do it, but I had just finished The Key and I kept telling myself, I was like, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to review other books because I love doing that too. I love finding other indie authors and giving them those reviews because reviews are what make and break an author. And so
wait, repeat that one. So people,
I know, right? So reviews make or break an author. Do not make us pull your teeth out like you're at the dentist. Just leave a review, like, please.
It's so true. It's so true because word of mouth nowadays is a thing that really gets books out there. And so we need to encourage people to give reviews to all authors, because if you want to have books and stories continue to be told,
exactly,
support people. And we met on a website, or it wasn't a website, it was like a class we took together. And so I think we need to support other people that have like-minded interests. And so I think this is a really cool thing.
Yeah, this has been a great experience because like I have found a couple more authors, and even when you guys come on and I do my podcast interview with you, I'm like taking notes because I'm like, oh, I didn't know that either. Like I'm still learning as well. We're always forever learning.
Yeah,
and
lifelong learners.
Yeah, everybody. Sometimes people come on and I'm like, ooh, ooh, ooh.
It's just the connections we make in life that take us on our journey, which make it fun. Yeah, that's so
It is. It's been really fun. And that's the number one thing. Share your story. And I want to make it as fun as possible for you because, you know, even when I wrote my first book, a friend said, writing a book is not for the faintest of hearts. And that's a true statement, but there's still a way to have fun with the roller coaster ride. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what we need to focus on instead of just telling people, because so many people say, I'm going to write a book. But statistically, out of 328 million Americans, only about 45,000 actually publish some of their story. And that's less than 1% of the population in America. And it's just because people either don't know how, or they find out how much work it really is, and they don't know how to make it enjoyable and not work.
That's the thing is, you know, nobody wants to do more work. But if you love to write, or you love to play tennis, or you love to run, or whatever you love to do, if you're doing it with a, you know, a whip over you to get it done, then that's not fun. And so we have to find a way to enjoy what we do.
Right. And when you produce like that, your writing isn't as good either. And I was just talking to another author on Instagram, and lately, like, she was doing all these posts about how like she was heartbroken because this was becoming work for her. And I was like, nope, you and I are going to do a Zoom call. So I just got her on Zoom and was like, all right, we got to figure this out. And so a lot of it had to do with, I know some people say don't batch, but for me, like if I'm like super creative one day, I might have a migraine the next and not be able to write at all. And so like, if I'm being super creative, it's just so releasing for me to do 1,000 posts. Now my stories, I'll do the everyday, hey, this is what I'm doing today. But my actual Instagram posts, I will batch and I will schedule out. And it is just so, that's not work for me. I enjoy that now. Whenever I can do things like that, whatever I can do to make my life easier so I can really just love by the time I'm done and say, look what I did.
That's
Now,
cool.
during the editing process, that's a different story. That's when you're like, oh my God, I hate my own story. But you get past that and it's okay. You know,
we all have to edit. We all have to edit, and editing is definitely work. That's not the creative process. That's
no.
the other process. Well, I have really enjoyed talking with you, Stormi, and I would love to do a giveaway of your book on my blog. So what we'll do is I'm going to have this up on YouTube, and I'm going to put it on my blog, and I'll schedule a time, and I'll have it on there for people to comment, and then we'll just do a random number pick and have that person get your book, and then hopefully, like we said, they will give you a review.
Yes.
Yeah. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining me on, my little blog and my YouTube. I have loved having you, and I just love your energy and how very positive you are, and the idea that you're helping other people by being a story coach. I love that. That is
yeah.
cool.
So many people are like, but you're not a best-selling author. And I have to say there's two different things. That title is great, but it's very analytical. You have to sell one more copy than the person below you. Well, I'm in suspense, thriller, mystery. So that is freaking huge. And if my book comes out when a James Patterson, Nora Roberts, or somebody like that, I mean, I can just kiss that goodbye. So for me, I hope to get it one day, but it's not what I focus on, because if I can inspire maybe a kid that was like me, that was going through a hard time and needed a reason to get out of bed, or needed something to do at night. There were nights where I couldn't sleep at all, and so I'd be under the cover with the flashlight reading, and that kept me out of trouble. And
being a story coach, I'm going to put down on the in the little section below, I'll put your story coach link, because just that it sounds like such a beautiful thing, it's magical.
Just share your story, because you can change a life. That's my greatest thing, is like I said, books saved my life. I had my first suicidal thought that I remember as far back as age 5.
Oh my God.
I didn't have a book to kind of help me escape what was going on in my head that nobody could explain to me, because nobody knew, like, I may not be here. So like, you just don't know whether it's fiction or nonfiction, you could still change a life. And to me, that's the coolest thing.
I'm so glad you said that. And I just am going to send this person to you that I know is having her book come out, because it's actually on suicide. And so I think
that's a big thing for me. So yeah, definitely that and bullying. Those are kind of my two pet peeves that I really stand up for. So
well, I've really enjoyed having you, and I just want to say thank you so much again. And we'll list your social media links, and I just encourage people to go visit you and check out your podcasts and the Bookish Chatter. And so thank you, Stormi. I'm going to say goodbye to everyone. Thanks for watching. Bye.